This is the story of my ridiculous 24th year. Welcome and enjoy the ride. Barf bags are under your seats in case you need them, and you just might need them. So, I have this condition called obstructive sleep apnea, and I sleep with a CPAP machine. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you. It means that I stop breathing repeatedly while sleeping because my airway gets blocked. Then my body freaks out and wakes me up in order to stop me from dying. This happens over and over and over again throughout the night. 32 times an hour at my worst. My CPAP machine, which stands for Continuous Positive Airway Pressure, makes sure I'm always getting air so that I don't die in the middle of the night and so I get restful sleep. I'm basically Darth Vader. Look, this is why I'm single. Who knew petite little ladies could get sleep apnea? I thought only really ancient large dudes get it. But no, I was diagnosed with a severe case at the ripe old age of 21 after graduating from UC Irvine. Looking back, this should have been a sign of a much larger issue. But what did I know? Flash forward to 2 years later. I was living in Los Angeles in an adorable little apartment decorated with my grandmother's vintage furniture. I was kicking ass in grad school at Cal State LA. I had a job, friends, I was living, singing, dancing all the time. It was awesome. This was the quarter I worked 2 jobs, ran the arts department for a web series, created a sitcom pilot, wrote a webisode, and played Mrs. Cohen in Rent the Musical. But the whole time, I felt horrible. I was wrestling with some pretty bizarre symptoms a seemingly healthy young woman should not be dealing with. These included, I was tired all the freaking time. I was so moody, could have committed a crime. I couldn't eat gluten and I couldn't drink wine. All of my friends said, shut up, you're fine. Oily dark hairs grew out of my chin. I was so depressed, I almost did myself in. My anxiety forced me to stay indoors, and the zits on my face were way worse than yours. My hands swelled and my wrists grew weak, and I only pooped once a week. Yeah, I only pooped once a week. Yeah, I only pooped once a week. Oh, and I thought I was pregnant. Not because I was having all of the sexy times, but because I was literally not bleeding from my lady bits at all. So, you can understand my concern. I'd gotten tested for a few things, but nothing came back. On top of that, people around me didn't believe that what I was experiencing was real. Even my roommate. Flashback to our shared kitchen. Why do I feel so bad? Maybe I'll make something with kale that is dairy-free and lacking in joy. La 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 la, I'm probably dying. I sing sometimes. Hanna, you're fine. You need to relax. Yeah, but I have all these really weird symptoms. Yeah, caused by stress. You gotta stop stressing yourself out. Bro, are you a doctor? I'm not willing my own hands to swell. That's not a real thing. That's not a normal reaction to stress. They said it was all in my head. And oh, how right they were. And now, a word from our former president. Oh no. Winter, apologies friends, 2015. a theater conference in Utah where you cannot buy alcohol after 7 p.m. We were waiting around for the shuttle, talking about the new works we'd seen and feeling good about the show we brought to showcase when I get a call from an unknown number. Hello? Hi, I'm looking for Hannah. This is Dr. Williams, medical assistant Lisa. Hi, this is Hanna. You only get calls from the doctor when they have bad news. Hi, I hope you're doing well. Dr. Williams just wanted to let you know that you're pre-diabetic. Oh, what? Okay, so what does that mean? It just means you need to exercise and eat healthier. Oh, okay. There's a class we can refer you to. Would you like to be referred to it? Yes. Okay, thanks, Hannah. Any questions for the doctor? I don't think so. Okay, Hannah, good luck. Good luck? And then the tears began to fall. How could I be pre-diabetic? I eat organic spinach and whole grains. I don't drink soda. I hid my tears from my friends as we rode back to the hotel. It didn't make sense to me yet, but it would. Spring break. So, I go home to my parents' house in the Bay Area, ready to cut carbs and exercise. No diabetes for me. I go for a routine dentist appointment, which I definitely thought about skipping. No big deal, right? Clean, brush, floss, x-ray. I'm seeing some signs of arthritis here in your jaw joint. We better refer you to an orthodontist. I mean, I'm not a 93-year-old lady who's had like 12 kids, but okay. It shouldn't be too serious. They'll probably just give you a new mouth guard. So, I go to the orthodontist alone, not expecting anything major. There I find out that one of the reasons you have sleep apnea is because your jaw is incredibly far back, cutting into your airway. This is caused by the way you grew, being a small person, and most importantly, by the first round of orthodontics you received as a child. So this is partially caused by the braces and neck gear I got when I was a kid that my parents paid for. Your airway should be like a thick milkshake straw, but it's more like 2 bar straws. You have the smallest airway I've ever seen. Awesome. So I get braces, again, at 24. The plan was to pull my teeth forward with the braces and then sign me up for a reconstructive jaw surgery to correct all the madness. That's it. I thought all my problems would be solved. Nope. Spring quarter. That quarter, I put on a screening for our web series, commuted back and forth from LA to the Bay for braces adjustments and a teeth extraction. I even went on a few dates, but I was exhausted. My body seemed to be imploding, and I slept every chance I got. And it couldn't be all caused by my wonky jaw. So of course, I took to the internet. I cut out everything that was delicious. I took 1,000,001 supplements. I tried to heal myself with crystals. I was incredibly introverted and cranky. Sometimes I'm still amazed I still have friends. Thanks, guys. Here is an excerpt from my blog. Yeah, it was that bad I had a blog. I feel like a ticking time bomb, and I need to see a functional medicine doctor. I feel like I can't have a stressful life because it's slowly killing me. I just have to have a sugar daddy and do musical theater forever. I won't be able to be independent because taking care of myself is a full-time job. Also, I'm terrified of brains now. I don't know what to do. I don't trust conventional medicine anymore. Please send guidance. Love, Hannah. I decided to go home for the summer and be with my parents and figure out what was going on with me. This ended up being a decision that would change my life. So, I saw my doctor when I first got home, and she said it'd be good to see my lady doctor. So I discussed my irregular lady business with her, and she referred me to an endocrinologist, also known as a hormone specialist, who then ran a bunch of tests. I became friends with all the ladies at the lab. After having my blood drawn like 12 times and drinking fruit punch, I tested high for growth hormone, which means I had this rare condition called acromegaly. Acromegaly. Say it with me now. Acromegaly. Beautiful. Acromegaly is caused by a benign tumor on the pituitary gland. Yes, I had a brain tumor that was wreaking havoc on my hormones. A fucking brain tumor! The symptoms of acromegaly include fatigue, irregular period, puffy hands, sleep apnea, oily skin, excess hair growth, and high blood sugar. Check, 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 check. And an MRI confirmed it. Untreated acromegaly can cause heart disease, full-blown diabetes, colon cancer, and blindness as the tumor wraps around the optic nerve. And I had that. Whew. Acromegaly is often diagnosed much later in life when the damage is irreversible. So I was lucky to have found it so soon. A week and a half later, I met with my neurosurgeon, and my brain surgery was scheduled for 10 days after that. It turns out it really was all in my head. And now, a word from our former president, Barack Obama. My fellow Americans, regardless of how you feel about my administration, one tenet of the Affordable Care Act mandates that dependents are allowed to stay on their parents' insurance plans until age 26, when previously it had been age 23. Remember, Hanna was 24 when she found out she was sick. Thus, she was able to receive care and continue to heal after her diagnosis. Another important element of, yes, I'll say it, Obamacare, was that people could not be denied health care based on having pre-existing conditions. This was huge for Hanna and Hanna's prognosis. Hello! I'm the bad news fairy. Did you know that before this law was passed, women could be denied health care just for being women? Yeah. Back then, in like the year 2000s, being a woman could be considered a pre-existing condition. Not to mention, the Trump administration now said it's okay for the medical field to discriminate against trans folks. Isn't this fun? So, I'm in the pre-op room, ready to be taken into surgery, when this orderly walks in with his amazing energy. We ask him how he's doing. His name is John. I'm blessed. Wow, what an amazing response. I didn't expect that. Well, I'm breathing, I'm walking, I'm living. I'm blessed. You are blessed. Bless you. Thank you. Bless you. It was a wonderful moment with a man whose job is literally to bring patients from one room to another. I didn't expect him to be filled with so much light right before they took the tumor out of my brain by going through my nose. The surgery went perfectly, better than my neurosurgeon expected. They used a tiny camera and all kinds of little tools to get that thing out of my noggin, and they were very convinced that they got it all out. The tumor was wrapped in its own shell of growth hormone-producing cells, which they peeled out of my brain. Then they used fat from my tummy to fill in the hole. Remember, the barf bags are still under your seats. I wake up from surgery, and the first person I see is John. John? Yeah, it's me. How you doing? I'm so excited to be alive. I have so much I have to do in this world. You don't get to rob the world of that. Nope, you do not get to rob the world of that. I'm so grateful. Bless you. Bless you. Then my mom walks in and we burst into tears. Mom, I want to be an actor. I don't think I've ever had this much clarity. Okay, you get to be whatever you want. I tell her what John says to me. I tell her I have to follow my dreams and help people become their best selves. Thank you for loving me. I was meant to encounter John in the hospital. Hello, everyone! My name is Madam Professor, and I'm here to talk to you about the 6 different types of healthcare we have in this country. 1, socialized medicine. This includes the military and the Veterans Administration. Yes, social media, social. Yes, socialized medicine does indeed exist in this country. Egad! 2, national single payer. What does this include? Yes, this includes Medicare for senior citizens. Yes, national single payer health insurance exists in this country too. 3, government finance with private providers. This includes Medi-Cal or Medicaid for our lower income compatriots, as well as CHIP, CHIP for children and teens. Wild! 4, government regulated and subsidized private insurance. This includes Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act for those of you who are still confused, as well as TRICARE for military families. Huzzah! Let's see, private employer or employer-funded insurance. This is insurance one gets through their employer, or you can buy it out of pocket for oneself and one's family. Hooray! And finally, charity care. This is volunteered hospitals and clinics, such as St. Jude's Children's Hospital, as well as the Berkeley Free Clinic. It's no wonder we're all confused, angry, and exhausted. And now a word from a fellow American. I work, I eat vegetables, I exercise. Why should I have to pay for someone else's health insurance? People should be responsible for their own health. Do they just want a handout? There's a myth that all illness is the fault of the person, but this does not take into account environmental factors such as exposure to pollution, access to clean water, access to healthy food. Let's take Hanna's case, for instance. Acromegaly is random. They don't know what causes the tumor to grow. These issues predominantly affect some populations more than others, such as communities of color. Don't you see? Well, I think that someone's employer should pay for their insurance. Sure, and that has worked really well for a lot of people. But remember the whole global pandemic thing. In these unforeseen times, it has become clear that healthcare cannot be tied to employment, especially when the whole world gets laid off. We are as well as our sickest person. If one person cannot get tested or get care today, that puts us all at risk. In other words, wear your damn mask! When I was diagnosed with acromegaly, I was a healthy-looking, green smoothie-eating Pilates lady, and yet I still needed expensive and extensive medical care that no one could have expected. Acromegaly is diagnosed 3 in a million people per year. So yeah, I'm one of 3 in a million. Some people are not more deserving of care than others. After the first week I was home, my friends organized to make meals for me. I hadn't understood the depth that my friends had for me. Thanks, guys. The immediate recovery was rough. I was shaky, my nose was dripping blood, and then I began to throw up and throw up and throw up. So off to the emergency room we went. Remember, barf bags under seats. I had low sodium or hyponatremia, which is a fairly common post-brain surgery complication. So they slapped me with an IV, and I hung out at the hospital for a few days. No big deal, right? But they ended up discharging me too soon before my salt levels had stabilized. So less than 24 hours, I was back in the ER, now with an even more severe case. While waiting for the IV, my levels dropped even lower. The ER doctor: "Wow, I can't believe you're upright and talking. You should be having a seizure right now." That was encouraging. I was like one of those difficult patients on Grey's Anatomy. "Where's my IV? Why is this taking so long? Don't they know that while I'm waiting, my levels are getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower? You stupid assholes." A nurse was nice enough to give me magazines. But what are magazines when your pituitary gland is not regulating your body properly? I had the lowest salt levels my neurosurgeon had ever seen. It seems to be a theme. Somebody give me a medal. Now, what's so scary about low sodium? Just eat a bag of chips, my sister said. But it can lead to irreversible brain damage, paralysis, a coma, and even death. And my levels weren't going up. I was in the hospital because of a doctor's mistake. Things weren't moving fast enough, and no one was listening to me. I definitely swore at the food ordering guy. Our family friend, Dr. Mimi, was furious on the phone to my mother. "It is unacceptable that they sent her home too soon. This is standard of care. You need to demand that she be moved to the intensive care unit." Mom to the kidney specialist: "I'm concerned because I feel like she's not getting the care she needs and we're not being listened to. She's here because of a doctor's mistake and it needs to be fixed." Okay, there's not much more we can do because her levels could go up too quickly, which is equally as dangerous, but we won't let that happen. We will monitor her more closely. Finally, at midnight, I was moved to the ICU where they drew my blood every 2 hours. While there was a lot of uncertainty, my community rallied. My childhood best friend sat by my side, crocheting for hours. Winnie and Kathy, my barista booshes, walked with me around the ICU. One held on to my heart monitor, while the other held on to my IV, my hands in their other hands. My sister came home from college and immediately sat on my hospital bed. We shared a bag of chips, trying to forget that maybe I wasn't going to be okay. Then, "Her levels are going up too quickly and there's nothing we can do to stop it." Dad: "Okay, now I'm really scared." And he started to cry. Nobody knew why it was happening. The kidney specialist was calling my neurosurgeon, who was calling my endocrinologist, who called my psychiatrist, who canceled my Prozac, which I had been on for 6 years, because it was possible that it was affecting my levels. I went off the Prozac cold turkey, which you aren't supposed to do. We'll get back to that later. Things were looking bleak. We were scared, but I decided that it wasn't my time to go. I could sense my ancestors around me. Grandma Shirley, Grandpa Lester, my great-grandma Rose, Grandpa Ralph, even our dog Milo. I held my leg to my chest and said, "Thank you for my healing. Thank you for my healing." Over and over again, because that's all I could do. Thank you for my healing. Thank you for my healing. 2 hours later, a miracle. My salt level stabilized. My pituitary gland was healing itself. The kidney specialist came in. She's going to be fine. We're going to move her out of the ICU tomorrow in order to be extra cautious, but you're going to be okay. You can start drinking liquids like you normally would. And we all burst into tears. That night, I started having visions for my life outside of the hospital. Voice lessons, dance classes, auditions. My life had been given back to me. That same night, the nurse gave me some melatonin, and thus I present to you Ponderings While on Melatonin. Is this what drugs feel like? I can feel my life coming back to me. Thank you for my healing. Time seems to pass really slowly. Oh, I just realized that healing isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Thanking your body for when it feels good feels so good. It's like every thought is a revelation. If every thought is a revelation and you've had these thoughts before, then this is research. Wait, is that Dr. Fauci? Hello, I'm Dr. Fauci. As it turns out, I am the director of the National Institute on Allergies and Infectious Diseases. And I think I'm still on the coronavirus task force. Can somebody let me know? Oh, I've seen you on TV. One thing that has become abundantly clear in this time of global pandemic is the health disparities we've seen among brown and black communities here in the U.S. in regards to coronavirus health outcomes. This is part of a larger issue of high rates of preventable diseases in these communities, such as diabetes, contributed to by food deserts, lack of access to grocery stores, lack of access to quality medical care, and lack of access to higher education. This needs to be addressed. This affects your healthcare costs too. Oh man, that's messed up. That makes me think of this one girl who, my sister had to go to the hospital. It was really scary. When I asked my mom why, she said because she wasn't taking her medicine properly. I was confused. She has type 1 diabetes and takes insulin shots. Why wasn't she taking her medicine? Because, sweetie, she couldn't afford it. But she has a job and she's a good person. Why is the medicine so much money? Mommy didn't have an answer. Whoa, this is a lot to hold. Bro, did you hear about that guy who got $1 million hospital bill for his corona hospital stay? Bro, the government paid for it. Bro, you mean we paid for it? Bro, that is so meta. Is melatonin really this strong? I gotta write this shit down. Oh wait, I am writing this shit down. I'm hella high. The next day, there was a party in my room. Love and gratitude filled the air. Anything seemed possible. My Facebook post from that day. Dear world, I just want to say this is the best I've felt in a long time. I want to thank everyone for their good wishes, support, and love. You guys make this life worth living. Love, Hanna. The next day, a few friends came by who I needed to see. Molly, my old friend from middle school, told me to slow down and say no to things when I need to. Deidre brought me citrine crystals to help manifest healing and creativity. Tom brought me a decaf soy latte and said, "We love you, sweetheart." Cammie held space and kept me grounded, and Jamie linked arms with me and told me to focus on me. Then I began to cry uncontrollably. Another sign that something new was wrong. So, I was finally home, sitting in the backyard. Sunshine, family, Chinese food, everything should have been great. But I couldn't relax. I couldn't trust that I was actually okay. Suddenly, a monster of fear came over me and pushed real Hanna into a tiny little corner of my soul. I could hardly communicate. My eyes were distant. I was gone. I thought I was going to have to be institutionalized. A flurry of activity surrounded me. My friend Parker walked in, having driven 2 hours to see me. Real Hanna was so excited to see her best friend, but possessed Hanna felt differently.
Hanna's gone. She's not coming back. You should go.
As my parents called every health professional they know, and my sister sat calmly on the couch watching Gilmore Girls. While they decided if they should take me back to the ER, she said, "Guys, she's just so scared that she's making herself sick." I pointed at her and tried to say, "Yeah." My parents put me in the shower at Dr. Mimi's suggestion, but I just stood there turning off the water in my soaked clothes going,
I don't know. I don't know.
Overwhelmed and unsure of what to do. I walked upstairs, climbed into bed, and let the battle rage on inside me.
Fear has won. You're gone forever.
No, I'm still here.
No, you can't come back from this.
I'm stronger than you, Fear.
This is too hard. When you wake up, you should kill yourself.
I thought I was going to, too. Then I felt these warm, loving arms around me. Who is that? Shh. It's me, my sister said. It's going to be okay. She held me as I fought against myself. Then, in the final move, Hanna drove a stake into the heart of Fear, and it screamed as it disappeared within me. I woke up. I was back. My parents rushed in, so happy to see that I was okay. What I had just experienced is common for people who go off antidepressants cold turkey. Withdrawals. Not melatonin related. Did Parker leave? No, he's downstairs. Really? Send him up! He had stayed and waited for me. Sunshine, family, Chinese food. We had made it. My parents took turns sleeping next to me for a week so that in case it happened again. My dad took a month off work so that I wouldn't have to be alone. About 4 weeks into recovery, I was feeling much better, and I needed to get out of the house. Parker had already come to visit me, so it was time for me to go see him. In Hanna's perfect world. I get out of the car, the sun is shining, and it smells like trees and magic. You run out to me barefoot and wrap me up in the yummiest hug. You bring me inside, and there's a quirky, vegan, vintage, gluten-free tea party for two. You propose, and we live happily ever after. Reality. You sing Suddenly Seymour to me as we ride up to Pine Crest Lake. We laugh and shriek as we wade into the freezing cold water. We get all gussied up for dinner, and you stay up late with me when I can't sleep because my new CPAP mask is evil and gives me these insane headaches. You're my best friend who saw me have an intense out-of-body experience and decided to stick around. And maybe that's better than a romantic tea party, because it's actually real. So, life was going okay. It was a Wednesday. I walked into the local grocery store because my dad needed some bread. And there he was, my tall, skinny deli man, the guy I had dated before I moved to Los Angeles. I wasn't looking for him, I swear. We make eye contact. I wave. I shop. He follows me around the store. Hey, my mom told me what happened. I'm so glad you're okay. Thanks. So are you like still paying that off and stuff? It actually only cost us like $300, but without health insurance, it would have at least been $500,000. Whoa. Yeah. So I bought the bread. That night, he texted me the words I'd been waiting to hear from him for 2 years. I just want to let you know that I cherish the time we spent together, and I'm so honored to have had a place in your heart as you did in mine. I never regret that time. It was so good to see you. So we had lunch and hung out a few times, and maybe we kissed. And I thought, finally, I'm gonna get a boyfriend. That's what happens. You get a brain tumor, and then the universe gives you a man. It's only fair. And then he stopped talking to me. These are the words I wanted to say to him, but never did. I have an immediate, visceral reaction to your face. It's really inconvenient. I should spray my eyes with mace. When I see you, my heart goes whoosh. When I see you, my lady bits go bush. When you see me, you stare at my tush, but you don't deserve me. You don't deserve me. And I still want you. And how does that serve me? How does that serve me? I feel like an idiot. You're so damn cute. Now get away from me before I punch you in the motherfucking face. So you send me these amazing words. They finally come and they're just what I need. And then I realize it's after 9:30 p.m. on a weekday and you've probably been drinking. I thought we broke up because I was leaving for grad school, but apparently it was because I liked you more than you liked me. But you said I love you first, you asshat. You said I love you first. It turns out brain surgery doesn't make you immune to rejection. It also doesn't mean your life will suddenly become a fairy tale. Poop. I'm neurologically different now, and that has presented a lot of unforeseen challenges. Even now, 5 years later, some days are good, and some days I'm hit with incapacitating grief, irritability, or anxiety. More so than before, my mental health is something I have to continuously manage. Is this something I'm going to have to disclose to my future person? Will they judge me for that? Will I judge me for that? Are you judging me for that right now? Since all this, I finished my MFA and I'm growing into the Hanna I'm supposed to be. And we got 2 dogs! That's Maisie and Murphy, and they have helped me heal. I had my reconstructive jaw surgery in the summer of 2016, drank smoothies for 10 days straight, and on day 952, I got my braces off. In 2017, I had my professional theater debut, and last year, can you believe, I had a real live boyfriend. So, what's next? If I'm honest, I worry about healthcare a lot more than I care to admit. According to Dr. Marty McCary, a surgeon and professor of health policy at Johns Hopkins University, who wrote the eye-opening book, The Price We Pay, What Broke American Healthcare and How to Fix It, about 1 in 5 Americans has medical debt in collections. Prices are inflated across the board to obtain a certain profit margin. Working people with health insurance are being sued by hospitals and having their lives upended for not being able to pay artificially inflated bills for routine medical procedures. Could you imagine if I didn't have insurance? Currently, I'm training to become a drama therapist, having found a way to help people become their best selves and still be an actor at the same time. Brain surgery changes a person and changes a life. And that's okay. Thanks for listening. Love, Hanna.
Thank you, Hanna. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much. It is a bummer with Zoom Theater that you know, we can't do live audience sound, but the chat is going crazy right now for you. And I will share that file with you before all this is over.
Here, I'm gonna grab a chair.
Yeah, please do, and let's chat a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw us both here in the spotlight here, and I'm also going to say, please feel free to throw questions in the chat if you are in the audience, and and likewise for those of you watching on YouTube, I'll be keeping an eye on both chat streams. I've got a couple of questions of my own, and since I'm hosting, I get to start.
Yeah, sure.
And I got a bunch of questions, so I hardly know where to start. But I'll try this one. You had this almost unbelievable life experience, or it's a portion of your life. More on that later, maybe. What inspired you to turn it into what I think of as a musical comedy? It's wonderful, but I'd like to hear about your process there.
Sure. So, this happened in the middle of my master's program, and so in between my second and third year. So I was supposed to be starting on a thesis, and I wanted to write, I think, a one-woman show, and then it just was apparent that it had to be about this because it was so, wild. And so the first script I finished in 2015, and I got my MFA because of this show, and then I slowly workshopped it over the last 5 years. Stacey and I did it at the Marsh 2 years ago, and then I incorporated a new content that I wrote for a class I'm in now, or I took over the summer, drama therapy and social change, wanting to make it a little bit more political, a little bit more relevant to the moment. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. And in fact, now for me, sitting behind a desk, this is the third version of the show I'm aware of. You had Monday Night Marsh a couple of years ago. You did another one with Fuse. And there is a question in the chat, and I've lost track of who asked it here, asking the changes you've made since the last version. Yeah,
great question. So the changes, let's see, are mainly the stuff about health insurance. So the Obama, the professor, the fairy, all the stuff with factual information. The initial script that came from is called Care, and after doing a reading of it, it was so clear that they needed to be put together. So that is what we did.
And that was a really wonderful dimension to it, and I'd like to go back to that. But we've got a question here from Claudia. How did it feel to perform it all live? And I'd like to add in, with all your performance background, how was it performing for the camera and creating this multimedia show, which works so well on the online platform?
Thanks. It was nerve-wracking. At certain points throughout the show today, I was very aware that I didn't have an audience. And that was hard because I was like, oh gosh, I hope the information is tracking. I hope they like me. um, but the actual, I mean, we rehearsed in the space once. We did a lot of Zoom rehearsals. I would, theater is my first love, so I prefer that. But I think I was given this opportunity, and we had to say yes. So.
And that's amazing. Now I'm going to say again, and I will send you this chat file when we're all done.
Thank you.
The love pouring through here is
thanks,
wonderful,
guys.
and so it's wonderful, and so you will need to see this later. Now there's a comment here from Jerome, which gets into kind of a question I had. It's great that you were able to run with the punches, and a lot of good insight into how your family was so important. I also like the idea of the bad news fairy and your Obama and Fauci impressions. A lot of people loved those impressions, by the way, and the songs and special effects. And so my question is, you know what? I'm going to hold my question because a question just popped up from Kristen. Do you have a single favorite line in the show? Kristen adds, I have mine, haha. Do you have one?
That's a really good question. I have to think about it. But like the ones that are percolating in my brain are like somebody give me a medal, and also the brain surgery doesn't make you immune to rejection, or like that's what happens. You get a brain tumor, and then the universe gives you a man. Like those resonate a lot because I really did think that. I was like, yes.
I loved that one too because as sort of Hallmark cornball, as it sort of sounds, when you said it, I was kind of going, yeah, it is supposed to work that way. I mean, I wanted it to work that way for you.
Thank you.
But so, I was thinking as I'm watching this, now I'm the son of a cancer surgeon. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I used to work for a medical supply company, and we rented CPAP machines, and so I know a little bit of what you're talking about. But even so, despite the fact, son of a doctor, was considering med school, I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, holy crap! The amount of knowledge this woman has amassed on things medical, unwillingly. You didn't ask for it, but you did it. But you had to go through all this stuff. These medical experiences you went through, it's unbelievable one person goes through this. On sort of at the other end of that, let's see, you had your bachelor's in drama, you got an MFA in dramatic writing, you're working on a second master's, you're a member of the Dramatists Guild. This is the third version of this show. You clearly have no problem with productivity. Okay? And so my question to you then, if it's not too personal, is how you balance this obvious drive of yours and the productivity and the stress of kind of everything you've dealt with, everything we're all dealing with in COVID times.
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't always been successful.
Okay.
But learning, I think, when to say no and when I just have to say, sorry, I can't take this on, I need to nap. or I just need a day where I don't have any commitments. I mean, my family is really supportive, so they're amazing. I just I have a solid team. All of you here are on that team. I mean, my physical health is really a priority, so it takes a lot of upkeep to maintain Hanna because of everything that happened. So I really focus on self-care, and if there's, I often do too much, but I try to not.
Yeah, and that's the balance trick of wanting to do it all and trying to self-care. And obviously, you've put together a terrific team for this, and that's not easy. Would you like to talk about your team a little bit? Your director, the musician, the camera crew, everything?
So my director, Stacy, is right over here. I don't know. That's her hand. So she was actually Stacy. She was actually my high school drama teacher. She directed me in my first musical ever, and we ran into each other at a restaurant in Berkeley. I sent her a drink. The rest is history. So there's a, and like back then, when I was 15, like she super validated me as a performer, and so that trust was there, and we like each other. Team Stacy. And then her husband Rick and my dad actually were very helpful in terms of lighting and sound. So it's kind of a family DIY Fuse situation. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, because the scope of the work that you've achieved from working this team is pretty amazing. So you got your first master's in dramatic writing, and you mentioned that this piece came about because of that. So I'm a little curious about how your feelings as an artist of creating works of theater, which is a fictional world, out of your own life, and balancing that as far as maybe artistic license you may have taken with the facts, and then also choosing to weave in other facts, the healthcare issue. That's a lot to throw at you, but could you talk about that a little bit, about your writing process, I guess, in a way, in the creation of this?
Sure. So when I started first writing the script, I pulled actually from Facebook posts, notes I took in the ICU. Some of those sentences are from when I was high on melatonin, text messages, and I just sort of started with the timeline, and I read it for my family, and it was wild. And then, I mean, I think everything is truthful. Maybe like, I mean, I didn't really hallucinate Dr. Fauci. I hope I'm answering your question. So it was, basically it was just like tell the story, and then I naturally am like a silly like lady, so the comedy just sort of came out naturally. The songs, it all was really organic, to be honest, and so I did a lot of stage readings, lots of tweaks, and then sewed in the text from Care, and here we are. I hope, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost an unfair question to ask. I think of any artist, it's like, well, how does it work? What's the it's a hard one, and I think you did a great job of answering that. And what I loved from hearing you answer that, it kind of reflects again to something Kristen said here in the chat as you talked about your history with Stacy. She says, "Oh, I love that story about Stacy," which I did too. And that, and you talking just now a little bit about the process and the origin of this, what I'm hearing is an artist who's, I think a lot of the best artists, they're kind of always creating, or they're always looking for something to create. And there you are, hallucinating on melatonin, and yet, the stuff is being written down or mentally filed to become this. And that's wonderful. That is wonderful to hear. And so it was kind of interesting to me in the course of the show when you, in a sort of self-deprecating way, you say, yeah, I had a blog. As I'm thinking, it's like, well, of course someone this creative would have a blog. Do you still have a blog?
Sorry, I think...
I say, do you still have a blog? I mean, you seem like the kind of person who should have one.
Maybe I will. Can you hear me? My headphones are low battery. We
can hear you fine on this end. Yeah.
So I started the blog because I knew the show was going to be about the strange things I was experiencing, and I was also really trying to figure it out. Like, I mean, from that blog post, most of that was verbatim, and it was just like my body was imploding, and I didn't know why. So I think I was overwhelmed by trying to get readership of the blog. And then it was also super personal, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to share it, but I would consider that. Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Yeah, I want to pass on a couple of the comments here from the chat. Alicia, sending love to you from Cal State LA MFAers, your people. And then Iris Marie Grace is saying, start a blog, Hanna. Sorry.
Okay.
So I'm not the only one.
Thanks, Iris.
You know, and I'm going to comment, looking at the comments in the chat, it had occurred to me while watching the show, you're very funny, and you're very likable, and you're just, you know, it's kind of that old cliche, you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, and we like you and we're rooting for you. And there's such an energy that is so enjoyable. And yet here you are talking about some really scary moments in your life, in your life and the life of your family, and that hit too. And that was wonderful to get both, and it's great to see very similar reactions in the chat. I just wanted to pass that on to you. Now, there's a question here. What scene were you most nervous about?
Yeah, it's definitely the withdrawal scene. I kind of avoided rehearsing it, I think, and then my brain like refused to memorize it, and so I had to work extra hard and just like surrender to the story. But then some of the newer text, I was just like nervous about getting the lines right. But yeah, that's the big one.
Understandable, and you know, thank you for having shared that in the show, for having worked through that. Now, Jamie's just tossed something here which exactly echoes what I was thinking, or one of the questions I was thinking. It says the show has grown a lot since the first version, and so much has happened in your life since then. So much growth. What's next for you creatively? Do you think you'll keep adding to this show, or start on a new project?
Good question. I knew someone was going to ask this, and I tried to think about it. For now, I'm going to let it sit. I need a break. I didn't expect this opportunity to come so soon after the online version, so it was unexpected and exciting, but also like, whoa, a lot. So I like the idea of making it full length, just so it's not a little one act, but I'm not totally sure what I would include. Other projects, I mean, I'd like to focus on school and like fitness. There, as part of my culminating project for the drama therapy degree is a self-revelatory performance, so I will write another show in like 2 years, so watch out for that. I was supposed to be in Annie the musical at Tri-Valley Rep over the summer, but that didn't happen because of COVID. So like, I would love to just be in a musical. Yeah, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and I hope you keep creating, and when that new show comes out, you know where to find us. We'd love to hear from you on that. Again, the outpouring of love and the comments and the everything was just wonderful, and so as soon as we're done and as soon as the file uploads, I will email you. Actually, I'm going to need to get your email from Alexa, but I will pass the chat on to you as soon as possible, because you got to see this. You got to see this.
Thanks, David.
So bravo from Auntie Dweens. That's
Dweens.
The most recent.
She's in Canada.
All right. All right. Your people are here and they love you.
Thank you. Love you too.
So, thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, I could go on with this for quite a while, but you deserve a chance to put your feet up and pour yourself a nice drink.
That's the plan.
And for all of you in the audience, you know, we will be this will be viewable on the Marsh's YouTube channel. If you know people who missed it, who would like to see it, tell your friends. I think we all had a great time, and so share the love. Hanna, thank you
Thank
again for sharing this work.
Thanks for the opportunity, and thank you all for coming. Like, what an amazing thing.
Yeah, and thank you all in the audience, and good luck with your future work, and stay in touch.
Thanks, I will.
All right, thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Good night, everyone.